Go ahead and officially call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. I'm Sean Wilson. Welcome everyone to this evening's board meeting. I'll ask my colleagues to introduce themselves, and we'll start to the left.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out on this rainy evening. I'm Patty McCoy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Cheryl Picard.
Good evening. My name is Anupam Chugsadhu. Thanks for being here.
Hi, I'm Patrick Keogh. Thanks for joining us this evening.
All right, and Dr. Merritt? I'm sorry. Students, sorry. My apologies.
Hi, I'm Saif Hawar, and I'm a Student Voice in Action co-chair as well as a junior at Canton High School.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josh Patterson, and I'm a Plymouth sophomore and Student Voice in Action co-chair. Well, good to see you all.
All right, good evening and welcome. I'd like to begin by introducing my assistant, Ms. Robertson, and we want to thank her for being here each board meeting to capture our minutes. I'd like the remaining members of court to introduce themselves to you, beginning with Mr. Brandon.
Thank you, Dr. Merritt. Good evening, everyone. Nick Brandon, Executive Director of Communications and Marketing, and welcome.
Good evening, Kurt Tiskowitz, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Debbie Piaz. I'm the Chief Finance and Operations Officer. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Beth Rail, Chief Academic and Innovation Officer. Thanks for being here tonight.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Shantae Langford, the Chief Human Resource Officer.
All right, Mr. Patterson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is action item 241016, adoption of agenda, approval of consent agenda, and is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the agenda, approve the consent agenda, action item number 24-10-16.
Second?
Dr. Merritt, can you walk us through?
Yes, President Wilson, this evening our consent agenda consists of human resources transactions since our last time together. We have new hires, we have leaves and resignations, we have a retirement that I refuse to accept, but if I must, we will do so this evening. 10-year recommendations. We also have the approval of minutes from our special meeting, that's on September the 25th, 2023, our regular meeting on September the 26th, 2023, and our special meeting on October the 3rd. Finally, we have the first reading of Policy 5230, late arrival and early dismissal, and some out-of-country field trips that have been reviewed through our SPA committee for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed say no. All right, motion passes 5-0. Ms. Langford, will you walk us through new hires, leaves, and resignations?
Thank you, President Wilson. So tonight we have 3 new hires with us. When I say your name, if you'll just stand and be recognized. I have Mark Grenier, resource room teacher, who will be at Bentley and Holsing. Welcome. I have Stephanie Kowalski, who will be an elementary ASD teacher at Farron. Welcome. And I have Stephanie Rissman, who will be an EI classroom teacher at West. Welcome. So we could just give a round of applause. We have one additional new hire, Patrick DeRocher. Hi, Patrick. Patrick will be the master scheduler at P-CCS. He is currently a teacher within the district, so someone that we're familiar with, but he is moving into this new role, so we wish him much success in that role. Welcome. All right, and then I have a couple of teachers for tenure this evening, and I believe 1 or 2 of them may be here. I have Kiki Ayote. She is a science teacher at Liberty Middle School. Oh, there you are. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
It's okay. It's like a big boat, a yacht.
A yacht. Oh, I like that. Well, congratulations on receiving tenure this evening, and thank you for joining us. And then I have Angela Campernell. She is an elementary classroom teacher at Workman. Not sure if she's here, but we also want to congratulate her, as well as Mrs. Ayat, on receiving tenure this evening. And then finally, I have a retirement that I think I've received threats if I were to announce it tonight from board members and our core team here. But our own Debbie Piaz, will be retiring from the district effective January 12th of 2024. And Mrs. Piaz has been with us since July 2nd of 2018, and we absolutely wish her nothing but the best, and we will most certainly miss you here. But we'll hold on to you for these next couple of months and suck everything we can from you and all the information before you leave. So best wishes to you.
Thank you.
And that completes the HR portion. Thank you.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that we are not accepting the resignation of Ms. Pierce. All right. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service to the district. All right, on to celebrating success. And Member Picard is going to lead this for us.
Okay, well, this evening, the Board of Education will celebrate our school community with multiple awards. The first is an Extra Miler Award for Tonda Shimbo, one of our truly outstanding Bentley Elementary School staff members. And then we will present a VIP award for Krista Gable, a dedicated volunteer for the PCEP choir program. Let's start with Tonda Shimbo, our paraprofessional at Bentley Elementary. Tonda supports students with academics, personal care, and also assistance with before and after school needs. She is so incredibly dedicated to her position that Tonda even helped one of her former students during Kids Times Camp throughout the summers to provide consistency and familiarity during non-school months. Tonda always looks for extra ways to support students both academically and in social-emotional areas. She always puts her students first. She is always positive, super reliable, and promotes student growth. Tonda has a gift for helping students feel good about themselves as learners and individuals, and she works every day to build meaningful relationships with staff and families as well. We are so fortunate to have her in this district. So thank you. At this time, I would like to invite Amy Solborn, the Field Gallimore Resource Room teacher who recognized Tonda Shimbo for this award, to talk more about Tonda's contributions to P-CCS schools. So where's
All right, I didn't know I was going to get to talk, so this is a little bit spur of the moment. So Tonda has been an incredible member of the Plymouth Canton community. Tonda has been an incredible member of the Plymouth Canton community since I was a student at Tonda Elementary School. I actually met her because I grew up with one of her daughters. She has 4 of them. When I was 3 years old at Canton High School Safety Town. And then I had the opportunity to work with her at Bentley when I was student teaching, and then in a long-term sub position. And then again this summer at Kids Time Camp when I was tutoring her student that she was supporting through the camp, through the summer. And I just, when, we got this email and this opportunity, Extra Miler, like she was the first name that came to me, and I knew, okay, I'm gonna send this in. I don't really know much about it, how it works, but she definitely deserves it. She's been doing this for so long, and she's just incredible. And I'm really trying to get her to come back to the school that I'm at now. But no pressure. So.
So on behalf of the Board of Education, I present Tonda Shimbo with the Mary Beth Carroll Extra Miler Award for her consistently going the extra mile to support the students of Plymouth Canton Community Schools. So there you go.
Well, it's been my honor and privilege to work with these students for 25 years, maybe. And I look forward to many more years, and I get a lot of joy from them every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we have in our awards tonight is the VIP award to Krista Gable. And Krista was a PCEP choir librarian for 7 years, spending countless hours organizing, collecting, and distributing, cataloging music throughout her career. Krista's student graduated 4 years ago, yet Krista, as we would say in musical terms, has not missed a beat. She continues to give her valuable time and energy year after year by attending parent meetings, concerts, and supporting the choir program. Krista routinely proposes new ideas and concepts for our choir boosters to implement within the program and is a creative taskmaster who is supportive, encouraging, and always ready to try new things. Krista has been an advocate in the past with getting the choir budget improved and has attended board meetings in support of the arts programs and is an active advocate for the arts programs. The choir program is thankful to have a cheerleader and passionate advocate for our student musicians. PCEP choir teacher Jennifer Newman, who nominated Krista Gable for this award, is not able to attend tonight's meeting. However, she has provided a tribute to Krista that I will share. Krista is truly a person with a servant's heart. She is always helping the PCEP choir program and always seeks to make the lives of the choir directors easier. Krista does not wait to be asked. She simply sees something that needs to be done and does it, often coming up with an innovative, revolutionary way to file, organize, categorize our space. She is a personal friend, is kind, caring, and fights for what is best for our students. We admire Krista and deeply appreciate her service. She has served for 7 consecutive years, and we cannot imagine life around our choir program without her. So where would you like to come up? Oh, should have had you come up, sorry. So on behalf of the board, we'd like to present you with the Volunteer in Public Schools Award and for dedicating your personal time and talents and efforts for our P-CCS community. So thank you. And would you like to say something?
I absolutely love the choir program. I think it's, it is world-renowned, and so I do it with joy, and what better place to spend the afternoons than listening to beautiful singing from these, amazing students. So I've actually worked in this district volunteering since 2006 as a motor mom when Mr. Tiskowitz was at Field, so helping Ms. Shaheen do their take-home reading program, distributing books and trying to elevate students' reading levels, to East, to then move to Liberty, and then to the high school. So I love to kind of help out and be around. So I appreciate the opportunities to, work in this, volunteer in this district. So it's, it's not because of these great awards. It's just the joy of helping the students in the district. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations to all of our award recipients. On to board committee reports and action. There's no president's report tonight, so we will go ahead and move to SPA with members to do.
Sure. The team met last week, and we went through the 21st Century Global Issues Literature Course Materials review and recommendations, and that is on tonight's agenda after it went through SPA. We also got a brief overview of the multi-tiered systems of support update with how students are supported at all grade bands with academics, behavior, social emotional support. So it's MTSS for short for those of you that are in the academic field. Very interesting in how students are supported at every level to ensure that they are set up for success, and all of the different interventions that take place in the staff that are tied to that. We also started to talk about 11T grant funding, and part of this is because this is one-time funding that the district received, and it will come to an end next year. So we have some tough conversations and some tough decisions to make with regard to what programs are going to stay, what programs are going to expand, and what possibly eliminated. And so we wanted to have that discussion started in SPA, and we'll continue those discussions in the SPA committee as well as the board committee, the larger board. So basically one of the recommendations that came out of that SPA committee is that everyone, well, I'm going to talk about the board's role, get ahead of these discussions and to really talk to the community about how funding is allocated and how different pots of funding can go to different programs. And that includes our state funding, that includes our bond funding, that includes our grant funding. So I will talk to Treasurer Kehoe and some other members about coordinating that webinar. And so that way it'll be recorded and people can watch it over and over and over again. We also reviewed out-of-country field trips, which are on today's agenda, that were part of the consent agenda. And that is it. That's my update for SPA.
Fantastic. Thank you. Policy Committee, Member McCoy.
So we have not met since our last board meeting. We do have a meeting in 2 weeks. We meet before the board meeting, 5:30 in the collaboration space, all the way down this hallway to the end. And we are continuing our journey through all of the policies in the district to update and revise them to keep them current. So everyone is welcome to attend. It's usually quite exciting.
Thank you. Finance and Operation, Treasurer Kehoe.
Yeah, we met last Thursday, October 5th, here in this room, and we discussed a number of things that'll be on the agenda this evening, including the 2020 bond schedule update and presentation about all the different projects that have either been done or in progress or upcoming as part of that process. We discussed the summer tax levy resolution, which is essentially just a timing of the same summer tax that we've always levied as part of this process. We discussed the work that we're doing around the renewal of the non-homestead property tax. So it's a renewal of an existing property tax, which we'll discuss this evening. And we talked also about some of the other future projects that are there, including the JV Stadium field update and the work that's happening on that as far as the timing and the work that we've had there with the West turf field and some of the struggles that we've had with that process and the water damage from the tornado and everything else, and how we might be able to get that problem addressed. And we also discussed some of the work that we're doing around the purchase of additional Chromebooks that will be supported by a federal grant. It will also be on the agenda this evening. Our next F&O meeting is Thursday, October 19th at 5 p.m. It's here in this room, and we welcome the community to come.
Thank you. Student Voice and Action Committee, I'll turn it over to Saeed and Josh.
So first up, we have not met since the last board meeting. So it's a little short, but we will be at the P-CCS Community Open House on November 2nd.
In addition to that, SVA will also be hosting an open house at our next regular meeting on October 18th to inform potential new members about the purpose of SVA. And as a side note, this is specifically geared towards middle schoolers and high schoolers who are a part of the P-CCS district. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, administrative reports, recommendations, superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Wilson. I'd like to begin this evening by congratulating Liberty Middle School English teacher, Hawanya Urquhart. She has been recognized for her amazing work with students after being named the Michigan Council of Teachers of English Middle School English Teacher of the Year. I think we have a... The MCTE noticed Ms. Urquhart's passionate work to foster literacy and amplify the voices of young people within her classroom. Now, beyond her classroom, Ms. Urquhart also actively fosters a district-wide book club for P-CCS and leads Project Lit. It's a book club in her local neighborhood. She will receive her award at the MCTE conference in March, and all of us in P-CCS wish her congratulations, and we thank her for all that she does to support our students and our school community at Liberty. Liberty is on fire because I also have the pleasure to announce that we're proud that our staff there has been engaged and ready to improve equity for all students in the classroom. That work continued recently after Liberty Middle School teacher Daniel Parsons was named the 23-24 Michigan Teacher Leadership Collaborative. During this year-long program, educators deepen their knowledge of education policy and equity-focused instructional practices. They build their expertise around state-level policy issues important to Michigan students and communities, and they gain a voice in decisions that truly affect students, especially those that are historically underserved. So this is a very highly selective program. It's run by the Education Trust, Midwest, and Teach Plus Michigan. It requires that teachers complete a multi-round application and an interview process, and there's just 18 educators from around the state that were named to this year's collective. So again, join me in congratulating Mr. Parsons. We want to thank him for representing P-CCS on a statewide stage. I don't know if you had any pictures to share of that today. It's fun news to celebrate. We want to really offer our sincere congratulations And thank you personally to Police Chief Nightel with Plymouth Township and other members of his team and the entire Farron Elementary School community. They made the color run event at Farron School yesterday such a special day for our students. And we know we had the opportunity to welcome Chief Nightel here to board meetings and really talked about wanting to be a part of the community and really having positive experiences with students. We thought that they were just going to come and show up, but they stayed the entire color run and really just were such an integral part of the successful day. It's really important for our students to see our community leaders join us for the events, and we're really grateful that they took the time to participate. We also want to thank our principal there, Ms. Carolyn Washington, for her leadership in coordinating this color run, and thanks to the countless parent volunteers. This is something that takes a lot of work and effort behind the scenes to really make these experiences memorable for our students. So we want to congratulate and thank them for that. The congratulations continue. I always want to take an opportunity to really uplift the incredible work of our young people. And I want to offer my sincere congratulations to the 37 PCEP students who were recently named semifinalists in the annual National Merit Scholarship Competition. Please join me in congratulating the students. The students qualified as semifinalists after placing in the top 1% of all scores nationwide on the PSAT exam. As semifinalists, the students are now in the running for a variety of educational grants, ranging from cash scholarships sponsored by businesses and educational groups to full room and board scholarships sponsored by universities. The finalists and winners of the competition will be announced in early 2024. So we want to congratulate our students and wish them well on this next portion of this accomplishment. Also, Canton High School was named to AP School Honor Roll. The work of the PCEP staff, and I just want to be clear around that work, although we have Canton named because of the way that our schools are associated, this is an acknowledgement for all PCCS, PCEP. They really helped our students find their best success and expand their learning opportunities, and this was recognized by the College Board recently when it named Canton High School as its annual AP Honor Roll. Again, this recognizes AP programs that are delivering results for students while broadening access. And schools that earn this recognition annually are based on criteria that reflect a commitment to increasing college-going culture, providing opportunities for students to earn college credit, and maximizing college readiness. And again, while Canton was recognized by the College Board, this is the collaborative nature of our PCEP AP classes that make this recognition an indication of the quality of advanced learning opportunities that take place park-wide. When we think about those opportunities, they cannot receive these successful acknowledgments without the support of their incredible teachers. We want to thank our teachers for the work they do on a daily basis to educate our students and provide them opportunities for these high-level classes. Thinking about our teachers, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Carr in the Teaching and Learning Department, Ms. Rail. We had a really successful professional development day for our teachers this past Friday. During this time, our teaching and administrative staff engaged in a full day of professional learning across the district. Our teachers worked to connect the dots from the P-CCS dynamic plan and the themes of equity, diversity and inclusion. I think they had the day divided up. Their morning work was a group of teachers working together to use their dynamic plan, work on the learner profile, our educational and racial equity policy, to produce some visuals that represented connections between these three documents. And then later in the morning and afternoon, the PD focused on MTSS, that's our multi-tier system of support at each level. So we got really positive feedback for an active day of learning and support for our staff, and we appreciate opportunities to come together and grow in the profession. Just moving on, I wanted to take an opportunity to address some of the recent feedback that we've heard around our facilities that have been discussed around social media. As we've continually shared here in board meetings and in the community, our facilities are definitely not where we need them to be and are not acceptable. And there's been a lot of effort that's been put into the upgrading of our facilities, as evidenced by the work that we're doing with the 2020 bond. You'll actually have a report this evening just to give the community an update on that. Outside of the facilities or the improved facilities that we are really looking to be reflective of the quality of work that's happening in the classroom and in our activities and athletics, we also recognize it is our responsibility to take care and maintain the facilities that we currently have. And so we again recognize that that is work, and I know that that takes money, but it also takes just accountability to make sure that we're getting things done. We do have processes in place that are put to capture these daily facility needs. At the building level, in particular, some of the things that we've seen are reflective of the PCEP campus. We have plant engineers, we have a maintenance person that is assigned per building. We have a process that's called School Dude, where we ask that any work orders are put into School Dude if they cannot handle them themselves at the building level, so that they can get the assistance of central office to get any supports that they need. Some of the things that we saw that have been shared that we were not aware of were lights. I think there were some electrical features. Those have all since been replaced this week, and they are in the process of upgrading those. And so I do want to encourage community as you continue to engage in conversations. Please also engage. You're going to get the best result by going right to the building and just report anything that you may see. I definitely say that this is our work, our responsibility, but the collective want of all of us to ensure that we have the best environment for students. It's not the responsibility of the Board of Education. Absolutely reach out to the board, and they will send things back to the administration as well. Reach out to me directly, but most importantly, as I said, reach out to buildings. And I think collectively we work together to ensure that we are maintaining our facilities to the greatest extent possible. I do welcome and encourage these conversations. I have an upcoming coffee on November the 6th, and I've heard rattlings that say, hey, is she going to cancel the coffee? Absolutely not. I welcome an opportunity to talk with and engage with our community. You know, first, I am a parent, and I am invested in this district. Coffees give an opportunity for two-way dialogue. At board meetings, we will be able to hear your comments, but we can't respond. And so just getting, all of us have views on how we want to make our environment better, and those are opportunities to do so. So again, November the 6th, Coffee with Monica. This will take place at Miller Elementary School. This is 5:30 to 6:30. I heard is an hour not enough, probably not enough. So we'll continue to have coffees. And again, the door is open. We are on a path to continuous improvement. We all are invested in what is best for our district. We might have different ideas on how to get there, but collectively, I'm confident that we can get there together. So again, just want to thank our community for their support of the 2020 bond, encourage our community to continue having conversations on how we can ensure that our facilities match the incredible learning and the accolades that we're celebrating each and every day that are happening within our classroom. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Fantastic. Thank you. You know, first and foremost, let me just say I really do enjoy your reports because you highlight so many of the positive things that are happening in the district. It's a great opportunity for me as a board member to you know, get a download each board meeting of all the amazing things that are happening across the board. So I really appreciate how your superintendent reports have evolved over the time, and look forward to them every board meeting. So thank you for that. Finance and operation with the amazing Deborah Piez.
Thank you. Tonight we have Mr. Brian Guessman. He's with our construction management team of McCarthy and Smith. He's going to make a presentation to show a little bit of history of where we've been on the 2020 bond, where we're at today, and where we're going to. And so we discussed this at great length at the F&O meeting last Thursday, and we're here this evening to talk through that. What you see in the room, which it will be in the presentation as well, is a blown up portion of that graph or project schedule, and Mr. Guessman will go through that as well. I know Mr. Kehoe has asked a lot of questions, and we've answered some of them, and we'll probably continue on this evening and highlight different things at the conclusion of Mr. Guessman's presentation.
Sounds good. Well, again, Brian Guessman with McCarthy and Smith. Thanks for having me. As promised, this is the 2020 bond program update. And it's important to note, it says draft program schedule review. So the beginning of this presentation is kind of going to walk us through how this program schedule developed in the first place. And the reason why it's a draft is these conversations are kind of always ongoing. So the prioritization shifts as time progresses. Those needs may change, may develop. Maybe it was a need, is no longer a need. So that's why it's listed as draft, and we'll kind of talk through the progress of what we made, bringing us where we kind of started to where we are today. So I'll start with kind of how the program schedule is developed. So those in the room may or may not know kind of how this bond is structured. So the 2020 bond is a 3-series bond. So that basically means there's 3 separate components that's made up of the finances behind this bond. So those are 3 separate budgets, 3 separate dollar values basically that we got to fit within from a funding perspective. And so it's a lot of strategy as far as how you prioritize these projects to fit within those series so that they kind of run lockstep with the funding. And it's kind of reiterated here in each series has a defined cost which needs to be considered when planning the projects to match the available series funds allowable. This money is based on the money generated from the initial investment as well as the lifespan of the assets built, which helps in repaying the debt used for these projects. All projects for the 2020 bond at the kind of inception of the bond project was discussed with the district and put forth and has kind of developed, and we'll talk about some of the changes that's we started with versus where we're at now. As mentioned, some projects are no longer necessary. For example, the IT maintenance facility is no longer necessary due to the purchase of the Pilot Drive building, as well as some unanticipated issues such as the Hoban Elementary School, the stormwater issue. So that became an apparent need, and so that was then brought up in the schedule, and so that's why this program schedule is always developing. We talk about project schedule planning. So what goes into developing this schedule? What are some of those components? So this certainly doesn't list all of them, but highlights a lot of the main needs. So safety and security needs is an important one. Age of building as it relates to existing infrastructure. Enrollment is a component. Type, location of construction, improved bidder turnout. As I'll segue over to this sheet here shortly, and we have a representation in this presentation, there's a lot of things going on there. We want to make sure that the district is in best shape to receive the most amount of bids from a competitive standpoint and certainly from a finance standpoint. So sometimes bundling projects that are in close proximity makes sense from a budget and a feasibility location, as well as increasing bidder turnout. If there are known issues with the building, cost of the projects as they fit within the series budget. And as mentioned, program schedule is reviewed with new concerns as certainly at least at a minimum in an annual basis. But another example is the P-CCS tennis courts. That was something that was slated for later in the bond. As the tennis season developed, it was determined that that need has grown a little bit stronger and needs to be elevated in the conversation. So part of that is working with the bond steering committee, and those puzzle pieces kind of still have to fit within those series budgets, but working within those to make sure we have the best game plan moving forward. As we start progressing into the design of each one of these projects, there's a lot of discussion to be had here, but as we start getting into the design process, we start developing teams, and those teams are made up of numerous different people, some of which are students, building staff members, teachers, and we have them listed here, building principals. All of these building stakeholders, as we start getting into that design phase, get brought together to try and come up with the most, the best plan to move forward, as well as having buyer input from the end user. So this is a lot to read, and I don't anticipate everybody to read it, but as I kind of was alluding, this is what the overall project looks like. Just to highlight what we're kind of looking at, on the left-hand side is all of what we call these bid packages. So when I come up here, and we have one today, we talk about awarding bid packages. Those are those individual projects. As we work to the right-hand side of the screen, you see blue, you see red, and you see green. All of the green is the actual construction duration. The blue is the design phase, and then the red is the bid award phase. So in some cases, that blue is almost as long as the green. So it's a long developing process to get as much feedback as we can to try coming up with a good game plan. And as mentioned, sometimes that plan needs to be rewritten, so we come back or we adjust those schedules to make sure that we're coming to the board with a reliable plan that we can move forward with. This is just kind of a highlight, because we can't all read those line by line, just kind of highlighting year by year on where we stand by series. So series 1, this is some of the stuff that we've wrapped up or are wrapping up as we speak. So bid package 1, and I'll go over them briefly, but Dodson, Erickson, Holzing, and Field were completed in fall 2022. Bid package HS1, which is the Salem High School Scene Shop and Theater Edition, completion fall 2022. Construction that began in 2022 was the EL2 projects, Miller, Smith, and Bird, all pretty much wrapped up this fall, as well as HS2 started in 2022, estimated completion for the start of the school year of 2024. Then we start moving into some of the other projects, Series 2 projects, construction beginning 2023. So that's bid package EL1, which is currently ongoing at Isbister Elementary School. estimated completion spring of 2024. That project's well underway, as well as Pioneer Middle School addition and renovation, estimated completion fall 2024. And then in front of you today for the final read is bid package HS2A, the band room addition, originally scheduled to go with the natatorium, but based on some of those feedback and the intricacies of coming up with scope, is being brought forth in front of you guys today. Scheduled to break ground if approved would be yet this year. And then bid package HS3, which is well underway, is the Starkweather Academy addition and renovation, estimated completion for fall of 2024. Now we go a little bit further out. So some of these projects are a little bit closer to starting or proposed to start to bring forward in front of the Board of Education. Some of them are a little bit further away, and we're starting the design phase. So bid package MS2, East Middle School addition and West Middle School renovation. The addition for East Middle School would be, and we say estimated because this is still in the works, in the process, it's the spring 2024, with the renovations to West Middle School summer 2024. Bid package HS4 P-CCS1, we kind of combined this bid division or this scope of work based on proximity, and it just makes sense from a competitive standpoint to bid this out at the same time. This would consist of the Canton High School multi-purpose room addition, team room, concessions, and new stadium, including turf and running track. That, has not gone out for bid yet. If we come back and bring it forth in front of the board, would be estimated to start yet this winter or the early part of 2024. Bid package HS4A is Robotics Innovation Hub Edition, estimated to start spring 2024. P-CCS2, which is the tennis court replacement, estimated to start spring 2024. And then P-CCS3, which includes a lot of things. Site safety, practice turf, team rooms, restrooms, and concessions, estimated start fall 2024. Construction beginning 2025 as part of Series 2. Bid package EL4, Farrand and Hoban. Bid package HS5, Canton High School interior and exterior renovations, summer 2025. And bid package P-CCS4, which is the baseball and softball field improvements, estimated start summer 2025. Then we get into Series 3 projects beginning 2026. EL5, which would be Gallimore Elementary School and addition and renovation, spring 2026. And the bid package MS3, Discovery Middle School renovation and Liberty Middle School renovation, summer 2026. Beginning 2027 is the HS7, which would include the Salem High School multi-purpose room addition, as well as the interior and exterior renovation to Salem High School, summer 2027 for the renovation, and then the addition would, in theory, start in spring 2027. Bid package EL6, Bentley Elementary, Tonda, and Workman, all scheduled to start spring 2027, and then the Plymouth High interior and exterior renovations would be scheduled for summer of 2027 for HS6. Then we get into 2028, which we're still some years out from 2028, but that would be bid package D1, which would be the last of the bid packages, which would include the Allen Learning Center renovations. We list on here the new IT maintenance facility and kind of clarify that it's no longer needed due to the purchase of the pilot drive. The transportation and curriculum building renovations, summer 2028. And then again, the Tanger Center is no longer needed due to that purchase of that pilot drive building. And then lastly would be the administration building, E.J. McClendon building, summer of 2028. So it's a lot of info, but that kind of digests this kind of messy spreadsheet that we've got in front of us today. But again, it's a dynamic thing. That's something that we talk about often as far as prioritizing, but wanted to put some context behind the method of the madness of how bid packages become a thing and where they have to kind of fit from a finance standpoint, and would welcome any questions that anyone had.
Sure. So thank you for this. This is really good. A lot of information, but good information. When you look at the program schedule planning, that slide is a lot of that what went into prioritizing what went first, right? So obviously right now we're at a point where we're hearing a lot about our athletic facilities, you know, so just go a little bit into what was the strategy behind prioritizing certain certain construction projects first. I mean, you can look at it and kind of tell from you prioritize education, safety, things of that nature, but can you speak to that a little bit more?
I'd offer the one to start with would be Holzing, Erickson, and Field. From a safety and security standpoint, those are ones that had those offices internal to the building. So as part of bid pack or the 2013 bond, we did safety security improvements. In some cases, it was not physically possible to have an office directly adjacent to the exterior door. So right off the gates, those were 3, including Miller, including Pioneer, which is what we're working on right now, where logistically it became a problem that the office was not, it was more central to the building than on the exterior. And then from there, again, these were kind of the parameters from an age of building perspective. Equity is a big important thing, so when we started going through some of the elementary schools, I know enrollment became a thing where some of the class sizes in some of these buildings were a little bit larger than others. So to try and combat that and have more lower class sizes to be more equal to some of the other buildings.
No, I was recently at Pioneer and to see the construction. My children went to Pioneer, go to Pioneer, and so when you get buzzed in, the office is to the left and you have classrooms directly to the right. So there's literally no safety measures there. So it makes sense that you would prioritize those kind of construction projects first.
The other thing we did, don't forget, is the elementary buildings that had a cafetorium, that was a gym and a cafeteria, were also prioritized because that really impacted the instructional program for physical education. They couldn't do phys ed 2.5 hours of the day because it was being used as a cafeteria. So those were also prioritized in an equity kind of lens across the district. And you mentioned Pioneer. One of their greatest challenges was separating bus traffic from vehicular traffic. We had a number of accidents due to the traffic flow and the traffic pattern of that location. So we sought to separate those two things, and so that was a big piece of the Pioneer work.
If you can also speak to the series of bonds and the amount of money and the size of the project, so you have to make all of those pieces fit.
Yeah,
So-
it might be useful to go to the next slide because it's actually color-coded at the top of the slide.
Yeah, so for legally, you have a time frame in order to spend bond resources. Otherwise, you get into arbitrage and some other things. Arbitrage is just a fancy word that means you can't earn investment income greater than the investment you are paying on the underlying debt. The other very challenging and complex thing is this is page 1 of a 70-page book. And so what happens is you have to break up your debt or your election proceeds into 3 different sections because of that time frame. You have 3 years in order to spend the resources. 75 to 90% of the resources have to be spent in the first 3 years. There's a human component to how much you can physically do in a year, both from our architects, our construction managers, and our our internal staff as to having to oversee the projects. So that's a concern. In very complex language, and Mr. Kehoe will correct me if I don't say this correctly, but you have to pay the underlying debt in the same manner as the useful lives of the assets you are constructing. So for example, your mortgage on your house. You can't sell the house or before paying off your mortgage on your house. So same theory applies to this in governmental accounting, in that you have to pay off the debt in the same manner as the useful lives you're constructing. So you can't front end basically all your technology because that's a 5-year asset and you're not paying that debt in 5 years, you're paying that debt over 20 to 30 years. So that kind of example is similar. What we experience as a homeowner is just in bigger numbers and bigger challenges here in a public school.
And so with all of that you hear, that's a big puzzle piece to say what belongs in what series. And then you have the things that are unexpected. For example, the flooding at Hovind. So that had to accelerate the time period in which that work took place. Safety issue around tennis courts, where you're saying, are you continuing to put Band-Aids on and throw bad money after good? And so you will, when you hear the conversation around Fluid, we actually are going to post this timeline to the website. So as you look on the Bond 2020 page, you can really track when these projects are going to take place, but also recognizing that it could change as certain situations could potentially arise.
And I believe we're not only posting this schedule, but also posting this presentation.
Yes.
So, and as we make updates to the presentation, that'll be there. And, you know, it's really hard to see in the room. It's even hard to see on the blown-up version that you have over here. But if you have a copy of this electronically, you'll be able to zoom in on it and see the specific details as to each of these projects and each of these activities. And the three color codings that you see at the top in the dark orange, yellow, and light orange are reflective of the three series that the monies are done as part of that process. So we go out to we issue the bonds in those three series as part of that activity. So we don't actually get all the money up front. We only get the money as we issue those different series in order to make sure that we can spend the money within those timeframes that Ms. Piaz just described. And so there's a really complex activity that occurs in the staging of all the work that needs to be done as part of these projects.
Thank you. That was my only question. I'll open it up to, it took a little while, but it was one question with multiple parts to it. But Member Kehoe.
So
Or
we-
I'm sorry, actually, can we go to Mr. Patterson and Saeed?
So I was at Finance and Operations, and I asked all my questions then, so thank you.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So just, again, for the community that's looking at these things, we discuss every one of these bond projects in the F&O meeting, and we also review when we're considering these things going out to bid, when these things are part of the, of coming back from the architecture, and we go through the bid process, and then as you'll see on the projects that are coming up this evening, when they actually go through the approval process. So each of these projects have got multiple opportunities for the community to participate in a formal public meeting, in addition to those stakeholder reviews that we have as part of talking to the students and the families and the people in the schools and the buildings where we're doing each of these things. So there's a lot of input that goes into each of these projects. And for those of you that are here in the audience or watching at home that wants to know more about them, come to the F&O meeting and provide your input or questions as part of that process.
Yeah, a couple questions. Thanks for the great overview. I think it puts everything into perspective. Can you just share who's on the bond steering committee and how often that committee meets?
So we meet every Friday, and it is a lot of people. So Ms. Piaz, Mr. Tiskowitz, Hal Hurd, and Josh Meyer, Tim Grzinski, Rich Welch. So all of facilities.
Can you talk about the roles, not necessarily
Sorry,
just
yeah,
the
my
names?
mistake. So we've got facilities, we've got security, we've got finance. On occasion, when we start diving into building specifics. So this really encapsulates the entire bond when we're talking in generalities. So once we get into a specific, we're at Canton High School, that's another layer of when we talk about principals and those kind of people. Technology is on that call as well.
Barton Mallow is our technology
consultants,
architects,
TMP, McCarthy and Smith.
So no community members?
No community
Okay.
members.
So that brings me to my second point, which is the community members were highly engaged and involved prior to Bond 2020 going out. And I believe Member McQueen and another board member served on that committee that worked with the entire community, students, staff, families, to gather data. Can you share just a brief overview of what that process was like and the fact that there was a huge demand for a lot more, but we had to limit it to what we got?
So it was, the biggest constraint was that we had to have a bond that would go out that would be a 0 millage increase. So that meant nobody's taxes would go up, they would stay steady. So that was a big constraint. And Ms. Piaz said a lot of times during this work, the top priority was warm, safe, dry for the children. So that was a big priority. And then, so there were multiple groups. There were community forums of, the parents, the different elementary schools, the athletics and activities, to get everybody's input. And then, of course, individual principals were polling their parents and students and teachers to see what each of them needed, because that committee also had administrators, building level administrators, teachers, and it was a really collaborative process. The way the staff worked together to prioritize these items into what was the most needed. It's really amazing to see how they are all in this to educate the children. Nobody was wanting, like everybody wanted their stuff first, but they were willing to prioritize it to be the biggest need first. And so some of them went on, for instance, the natatorium at Plymouth, because of course, the original Plymouth did not have a pool for reasons. And with the sale of Central Middle School, the district lost a pool and a track.
So is it fair to say that there was a far greater need, but we were limited by maintaining a certain level of?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
there was a whole list under the line.
That was
And-
over
and if you-
$300 million of wants and needs, and
It was 330
Yeah,
million.
it was way over
Versus the
300.
275
Yeah.
that was passed at 4 mills.
And if you go actually onto the district website, you can see the presentations from when that 2020 bond was done, and you can see that the presentations are actually separated by building for needs, the things like roofs and boilers and other things like that that had to be done, as well as the wants as part of that process. And there's a nice presentation that illustrates the dollars associated with each of those things, and even those were not enough to support trying to keep people's taxes the same rate.
Thank you. Thanks.
Member Kirk?
No, I guess, would like a boiler be under maintenance? Or is that just under the bond, or like was it?
So it's replacement versus maintenance. So in some cases, Dodson, Starkweather, a handful of those were due, and so those were replaced as part of the bond. In other cases, so there's this line between maintenance and replacement. If it's a replacement, that would be a candidate for the bond and likely included as part of that bond. If it's a maintenance type item, it's not something that is a bondable expense, if that makes sense.
So it's basically, if it served its useful life and we're replacing it,
Yeah.
then that's covered as part of the bond expense in general.
Okay.
But if it's something that you're just, replacing a condenser or a fan as part of it, that's maintenance, and that just comes out of our operating costs.
Okay, all right, thank you. That helps, thanks.
Thank you for this presentation. It's really helpful to see it all laid out again. Also, I wanted to mention that before they came up with this list, they walked all of the buildings. So they knew which sidewalks need to be replaced, what the roofs look like, how many kids were in each classroom. Mr. Tiskowitz had a big spreadsheet of how many kids and how many kids are coming also.
And the playgrounds and the.
Yeah, and so also I appreciate the way that as this is rolled out, you've used the learnings from previous projects to change the next projects as far as the furniture and the playground equipment. So it's really making a big impact on the students in the district.
And the other thing I would mention, Ms. McCoyne, is that process didn't happen just once, 10 years ago or whenever the bond happened. That happens continuously, and that's why this schedule is a draft schedule, because it's adjusted and changed.
Right.
And like that's what happened with the tennis courts. The tennis courts were deemed by the athletic teams and by the competitive consultants that they were unplayable. And so we had spent $50,000, I believe, 2 years ago to
2.5, 3.
2.5 or 3 years ago to do maintenance on those, hoping to get them enough time to do that. And when that didn't happen, we don't want to continue to pour good money after bad. So that's why those have been moved up on the schedule, because the actual conditions on the ground have adjusted that process.
When was the last time we presented this?
So I think this is the only, I call it interim, or throughout the bond. Previously, when the bond was voted on, I think that was the last time it was formally published of sorts. And so this one you'll see is dated as of September 8th, so which is fairly recent. On our bond steering committee meetings, is there anything new that has come up that is worthwhile to have that conversation? And does it work with the series and the dollars that are allowed and are available to shuffle things around? Unfortunately, just not always that easy. But again, things change as weeks, days, months tick on. So it's certainly a standing item on our list.
We do discuss this general or broad schedule at the F&O meetings. We just haven't brought it forward to the formal board. But given the interest in the community, by having this be a living document that's out on the website, as well as probably having regular presentations, we'll make sure the community's aware of these activities as well as thank them for their support for this bond.
I'd also like to point out that the night of the bond election was the week that schools were shut down also. So we had the election and then COVID hit Michigan. So that was also a thing.
Right.
Yeah, it was
So then, yeah,
time.
correct.
Time
Well,
stopped.
that was my big takeaway is I just think this is
Yeah.
really powerful to see the full
It is.
scope of the bond work. I've been on the board 3 years, but I think this is the first time I've really seen the full scope. I've heard mention of different projects throughout, but I think that's once again, my big learning is I think we can do a better job of communicating these things to the community because everyone's not going to go to the F&O. I mean, I know.
I
but-
understand.
Got a long line.
That's right. Everyone can't go there. So I think this is good for us to maybe at least annually update it at the full board meeting for visibility. So, any other questions? Fantastic presentation. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we're consider approval of resolution, summer property tax levy, first reading. This resolution is an annual resolution we have done in the past. What this resolution does this year, though, is based on an advertisement in the Detroit News and Free Press on October the 18th. It will then live in perpetuity should it go to a full approval by the Board of Education next board meeting. What this resolution does is allow us to collect all our tax revenue on July the 1st on an annual basis rather than a 50-50 split between July 1st and December 1st. What that does is help us with cash flow. In order to collect the 18 mills operating millage, that helps us with cash flow because we don't have a state aid payment in September, and so we have a long period of time between, I'll call it paydays, from the state of Michigan on our state school aid. And so this allows us to upfront and collect all our tax revenue, and not any more than is required under the law, but it allows us to collect it on July 1st on an annual basis. It also allows us on a tax debt fund basis to collect that resource so that we have those resources in hand in order to make our debt service payments, which is our mortgage on the house, which come due on November the 1st and on May 1st on an annual basis, and therefore we have the money then to make those November 1st tax payments, which we are already scheduling because they have to be to their places of record by 5 days prior to November 1st. Mr. Keough, we covered this at the F&O last week, as well as with our bond counsel, Mr. Jim Crowley from Miller Canfield.
Any questions?
Just for reference, normally we do this as an annual process, and this is brought forward as a first and final. Because we're changing this to be something that will be in perpetuity, in other words, we'll always do it on the summer tax process, and we don't have to keep bringing it forward. We're bringing this forward as a first reading in case people have questions or there's feedback from the community. We can have that discussion and have a final reading for the next board meeting. This is just a standard process. It doesn't change the tax rate. It's just the time that we collect those, and it's what we've been doing for a number of years.
Thank you. Any questions from any board members? No? All right.
Next up is the resolution certifying the operating millage renewal proposal. This was also discussed at last week's F&O meeting and discussed with Mr. Crowley, our bond counsel from Miller Canfield. What this does is allow us to then renew our operating millage. As you know, in 1994, Proposal A required us to have a ceiling or a gross total of what Michigan Public School would be able to fund their operations with. And so therefore, the state of Michigan believes that we collect the 18 mills on non-homestead property, that is commercial property for the most part, not principal residences. This 18 mills plus the amount the state gets us is our foundation allowance. This year, the foundation allowance formula is $9,608 per full-time equivalent student based on a membership calculation. And therefore, This allows us to go out and renew that millage. That millage expires in 2024. This will kick off our millage election campaign that will be held hopefully on the presidential primary election date, which will be either February 27th, 2024 or March 12th, 2024. The state legislature is currently determining when that will be, and so that's why both dates are in the resolution. They should make that determination in November, so we'll know that in short order. This will go to the clerks of both counties of Wayne and Washtenaw no later than the 12th Tuesday before election date, and so we'll make sure that that election language gets to them accordingly. If you look on page 3 of the resolution, that is an exhibit of the election language. Thank you, Mr. Kehoe, who wordsmithed it for us. This proposal allows the school district to continue charging up to 18 mils of operating tax on most non-homestead properties, including commercial properties, just like it was approved in 2014, which will expire in 2024. This tax levy does not apply to principal residences, homesteads, or other exempt properties. If there are future Headley reductions of up to 4 mils, the school district can still charge only 18 mils, ensuring that the school will continue to receive the full money of each student allowed by the state of Michigan. And so what we're asking then is a renewal of this millage that will be limited to 18 mils, no more, over 20 years. And then we'll have a cushion in order to correct for any Headley rollback as required under law. Currently, this estimated revenue that this would produce is about $33.5 million, so it is very significant to the school district and requires a vote of the electorate. This time we're going for 20 years, but in prior it was 10, and that's why it's expiring on 2024.
And just some additional context on this. As part of our foundation allowance, the state assumes that we're levying the full 18 mils. If this does not pass, the state subtracts $35 or $33 million from our budget every year. And so this is super important for us, for the community. We'll be an education campaign to make sure that we let people know what we're doing and why we're doing it. This is a renewal. It's not a tax increase. It is the same millage that's always been there as part of this process, and that it is assumed as part of this activity. So it's super important for us. And because it's super important, that's one of the reasons we're moving this forward as a 20-year process instead of a 10-year, because it's a very high-risk situation if this was not to get renewed in this process. The other thing to make sure that we're super clear for everybody watching is this is the millage that applies to non-homestead. So this is your homestead, your primary residence is exempt from this tax. This is the money that's levied on the commercial properties, the businesses, and the other things in the community. And in general, our community has been supportive of this process, and this is a substantial portion of our funding process.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
So one minor adjustment. We did try to make this plain language, and in the language here, you have the legal language that's dictated by the state, but in the operating millage renewal, you can put italics language that tries to explain it. And we tried to write this in a plain way so that our voters could understand this better in terms of what's happening. There's just one minor suggestion is I think that there should be a comma after 2014 before and will expire in 2024. Just a small grammatical issue.
Next up, we have a resolution to purchase Chromebooks using the FCC emergency connectivity funds. These emergency connectivity funds, called ECF, is about a $7.17 billion program that was established to help schools provide tools and services for their community and needed in remote learning. Dr. Andrew Steinman is here this evening in order to present this resolution and to talk about the request for the funding. This item was presented at the F&O meeting last week. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So ECF, we've applied for this 2 times before and received funding where we were able to purchase iPads, Chromebooks, wireless hotspots, Windows laptops for staff and students who had an unmet technology need. That was in 2021. In May of 2022, we applied during the third filing window after reviewing our unmet technology needs at the time, and we applied for 740 Chromebooks. 14 months later, we finally heard back from the FCC, and they had some questions for us. And one of the questions was about the amount that we asked for. So we worked with our E-rate consultant who advised that we respond as quickly as possible. So we quickly identified a $238 Chromebook, which FCC was happy to accept our modified request. So they awarded a funding commitment of $176,210. Now, I emphasize the quickly part because while that Chromebook was acceptable, we felt like we could do better. So we worked with our Chromebook partners, and people-driven technology identified a Dell 3110 Chromebook, touchscreen Chromebook with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and that was at $253, so $15 over the funding commitment. And we feel like that's a better spend, even though it's going to be a net bond cost of $11,100. We feel like it's a better device for our students. It's going to last longer, and with Google's extended auto update policy, we feel like this is the best device for our needs. And I also want to point out, because the resolution states a part about cases, we're still reviewing Chromebook cases. We plan to purchase them. We just want to look at what's the best case and what's the most cost effective and try to balance those two needs. I'm open to any questions you might have as well.
For clarity purposes, this total purchase is $187,220, which means the district will be reimbursed by the ECF fund, and then the net result to us will be $11,100.
Yep, thank you.
But we have to bring it forward to the Board of Education because the gross cost is $187,220.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the Chromebooks?
So just for clarity on this, we discussed this during the F&O, is the target dollar amount was less than $240. If you went in, our original Chromebooks were more closer to $400 that we'd normally recommended. We identified, or the district identified ones that were below that 240 threshold, and that's why these ones were likely approved. So we're very excited about how quickly they moved and being able to take advantage of this grant opportunity as part of this process. So.
All right. Any questions?
So previously there'd been some real supply chain issues. Are those resolved, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's still supply chain issues, but we've actually been very fortunate with Dell over the past couple of years, and so we expect that within a month or two after submitting our purchase request that we'll have the devices in hand.
Josh?
So you talked about the updates on the software, and those, I believe, are 10 years. When does that expire?
So the 3110 was released in 2021, so 2031 is when it'll expire.
Thank you.
Yep. And we hope, maybe it'll last that long, I hope.
Other questions? All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you. All right, on to a final reading, action item 241017. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we consider approval of a resolution for bid package HS2A, band room addition and Salem Auditorium operable partitions. Action item 241017, final reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Member Picard seconded. Questions, comments?
So there've been some confusion from some folks that I heard in the community. This project is being funded by 2 different bond series. So one is from the 2019 bond series, which is actually from the voter-approved 2013 bond, and there were some leftover monies that were part of that process. It's not unusual that we see projects that we've done in previous bond series to have leftover monies from that process, and we use those for within the bond language and for future projects. And this matches those requirements as part of that process. So the operable partitions are being funded from the 2019 bond, but the band room addition was something that had always been included from the 2020 bond and are coming from that bond money as part of that. So just trying to clarify for those on the board as well as those in the community what's the funding process for them.
Great, thank you for that. Any other questions? All right, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed say no? All right, passes 5-0. Thank you. On to teaching and learning with Beth Rail.
Yep, so tonight we have one first read for a proposal for a first read. I'm going to send this book around. This is a novel, 21st Century Global Issues and Literature course materials. Novel is called Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. It's been recommended as a whole class novel by the ELA curriculum team who developed our 11th and 12th grade year-long elective 21st Century Global Issues and Literature course. Just Mercy tells the story of Brian Stevenson. He's a young lawyer who founded the Equal Justice Initiative, which is a legal practice dedicated to defending those most desperate and in need. For example, this book at the core is about Walter McMillan, who was a black man who was wrongfully convicted of murder of a young girl and sentenced to death row. As Stevenson alternates his chapters, he talks about Walter, but he also talks about his own personal reflections on our country's history with incarceration. He highlights his work with vulnerable people that were victimized by criminal justice systems, and he shares the stories of the prisoners that he has helped throughout his career. It also details the growth of his nonprofit law project, the Alabama-based Equal Justice Initiative. The total cost for 210 copies of this novel will be approximately $2,646. And as I've noted before, as we've talked about whole class novels, it's not over the cost threshold for the Board of Education, but because they are whole class novels, we bring them forward for review by the Board of Education. We did talk about this extensively at SPA, and so just open up any questions you have. Also, Kevin Carr, our Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction Assessment and Professional Development is here, as is Jan Douglas, our Curriculum Coordinator for ELA and Media, in case there's any additional questions beyond those that I can answer for you.
Just to add to what Beth is saying, Beth also shared the curriculum team's review process and the document that the team shared with us with regard to why this was selected. So the committee, which contains community members, board members, we reviewed all that, asked questions about why this book as opposed to any other. So had a great discussion and appreciated the document that verified why you selected this book over others.
Great, thank you. I've read the book, it's amazing. It's a great selection, so I have no questions. We'll start with Josh and Saeed.
So I've also read the book and echo your words. It's an amazing book and I highly recommend it.
I have no questions, but it sounds very good.
No, I haven't read the book. I appreciate all the work that's gone into the SPA committee, and it sounds like a great book.
It's available at the library.
Perfect, thank you.
Also in an ebook format, so you can read it on your Kindle.
I think there's a movie.
There's a movie.
Michael B. Jordan?
Michael B. Jordan.
All right.
Wow.
All right. Duly noted. All right, now to action item 241018. Consider approval of resolution for African American literature course materials. We reviewed this at past board meetings. This is the final reading.
Mr. President, I move that we approve a resolution for African American literature course materials, action item number 24-10-18, final reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any questions? Further discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no.
I say no.
All right. Motion passes 4-1. All right. Action item 241019. Consider approval of resolution for advanced placement AP Environmental Science course materials, and this also is the final reading.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the resolution for advanced placement AP Environmental Science course material, action item number 24-10-19, final reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. All right. Motion passes 5-0 as well. or 5-0 this time. All right, on to citizens' comments. Just as a reminder, traditionally you have to have your citizens' comments in before the meeting starts. I will honor a late entry for citizens' comments since the gentleman sat through the whole meeting. I don't want to torture you through the whole board meeting and then not get not get the citizens' comments. So we will allow you to come and speak. Just as a reminder, you get 3 minutes. The timer will be on the screen to share your comments with the board.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So my question is in terms of the transportation, if we're able to change it, the bus stop. Is this the right form for it, or do I need, because I've already went through the transportation department, haven't heard any feedback yet, maybe everybody's busy. There's new families in the area. We all live, out of the 5 kids that get picked up, 4 of them live literally within a house apart on Weston Drive. One is maybe a little bit further, but the way the bus comes, so if you think of it like a straight line, but there's a U, the kids are picked up at the tip of the U here, and then the bus keeps going. If it goes down the loop, which is about a quarter mile, with a long walk for the kids, this is 2nd grade, they would be able to pick up 4 of the 5 kids there, and then still the bus would have to go to that same route anyway, and to get that last person. So that the request is not only from me, but from the other 4 parents, if that's possible to have that change for this year. You're welcome.
Yeah. So, you know, as a reminder, citizens' comments, traditionally what happens is you'll get 3 minutes to speak. The board traditionally won't answer because it gives everyone an opportunity to kind of speak. And if you get into a dialogue, you can imagine we would be here all night. But with that being said, what happens with citizens' comments afterwards, after you give your comments, is that Dr. Merritt gets the forms and then she responds directly to you with the best, the best option for you to get your issue resolved.
Outside of this meeting, yeah?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
So Dr. Merritt will follow up with you.
Thank you. I really appreciate everybody's time tonight.
Yeah,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Thank you. All right, Arthur Colling.
A little tall here. My name's Art Colling. My son is a freshman now at Plymouth High School. He's been participating in bowling since 4th grade and now has taken interest in golf, surprisingly. Recently, I was made aware that bowling is a self-funded sport. That means that I'll be paying over $400 for my son to participate in bowling. But we also have to fundraise to keep those costs lower. If he wants to participate in golf, that will be an extra $385 to just participate in golf. That's the pay to participate fee. I have no problem paying for my son to play. This is a son that is emotionally impaired. He's found a love for bowling, golf, and I'm surprised he hasn't done golf. I meant football because of his size, but he enjoys both those sports tremendously. But if another student wants to participate in football, basketball, or track, their fee is a flat $385 for pay to participate. So I'm paying double of what these other athletes will be paying. Other sports that are self-funded are hockey for both boys and girls, lacrosse boys and girls, bowling boys and girls, 9th grade baseball, pom, and cheer. They would have paid the $400 plus. This seems unfair and could eliminate student athlete participation for some families. I am the athletic director at the middle school in Livonia. Recently, we lowered the fee for pay to participate because our district wanted to get more students involved in athletics. This includes our high school. I've contacted every district in the KLAA conference and asked about their fees for athletics. P-CCS and Northville are vastly more expensive than comparable districts. So for example, Livonia, if they want to do one sport, it's $125. They want to do a second sport, it's $125. They want to do a third, it's free. There is no self-funded. Let's see, Belleville is $75 for one sport, $75 for a second sport, and $75 for a third sport. Their only self-funded would be dance. Dearborn, Wayne Westland, and Howell do not have any pay to participate fees at all. They are all paid by the district. Novi is $175 for the first sport, second sport, and third sport. They do have field hockey as a self-funded, and same with Heartland. Brighton, all free, but each sport does pay for the transportation, other fees, but their coaches are paid by the district. Again, I will pay the fee for my son to participate, but I want to be what is best for all student athletes. If you decide to form a committee to research this concern, I would love to be involved. I understand why this is this way, but now there is more equity in the foundation allowance. It is time to revisit the policy. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right, on to discussion. We have one item for discussion this evening. It's Robert's Rules Workshop discussion, and ultimately, this is an opportunity for. This came up a few board meetings ago where we wanted to have clarity and create visibility around how we govern as a board of education, and the importance of following Robert's rules so that we can conduct the business of the board. We do have an update. I'll turn it over to Dr. Merritt. We provided a copy of Robert's rules to each board member. I know there was a request. We wanted to provide copies to Saeed and Josh. Were we able to accomplish that? They're on the way. Okay, perfect. And then we said we wanted to bring in someone, a facilitator, to walk us through. It's my understanding this was done in the past, so we went back to revisit that facilitator. Dr. Merritt, can you bring us up to speed?
So we had information, I believe it was from November of 2019, and that facilitator is still available and doing the workshops and will come and do that locally. So we just wanted an opportunity to get some dates so that we could share with Ms. Macon and get together a special meeting to go through Robert's rules with the board.
Fantastic.
How long is the meeting?
3 hours.
3 hours, okay. So it's not something we can tack on to another board meeting?
No.
Okay.
And who went through it last time? Oh, the three, okay. Your biggest takeaways from it?
It was just, a lot of it solidified the work that we're doing. For example, one of the big takeaways that I took is we moved from the word support to second in making motions, because we're not implying that we actually support that motion, but rather we're just seconding the process to move forward as part of the activity. And it's just a lot of procedural things that came out of that work.
The other thing is, the reason we actually went into it is because we had some inconsistencies in how board members were conducting meetings, depending on who was the president at that time. So we really wanted to formalize and make sure that process was consistent regardless of the president. So one of the things she walked us through was making sure that your governance documents, your board materials were standardized, and you review those with people, which you did as new members came on.
Great.
Patty, do you want to have anything?
No, it was just mostly what you two have already said. So it was a good way for us to, and start making some of our meetings a little more efficient with our procedures, and so our meetings run a little smoother. They're more predictable for the community and for the members.
And
But it was
everybody,
well worth the 3 hours.
and everybody got a chance to participate. It was a fair and equal process as well.
And I'm excited for Josh and Saeed to participate in it, because honestly, any board you sit on, most business meetings, things of that nature are going to follow a form of Robert's rules. So it's going to be, a really good experience for you to definitely set you up for success. So that's great. All right. Anything else?
We want to give some dates.
Look at calendars.
Okay.
Yes. Let's put it on.
We don't have two people here tonight, but
We don't have two people. Should we do how did the doodle poll work? Did that work well? When
Maybe
we did that?
could we get some, like with the
Why don't we
5
get
of
some
you, and
options?
then we can
get some
share with
options
the
for the
other
5
two.
of us, and then we
Okay.
can go from there. That's probably a
Well,
good
5,
idea.
6, 7, we have with you
Yeah,
two as well.
for 7 of us.
7. Yes.
7 of the 9 or 10.
Yes.
8 of 10.
All right. Are we looking at November, or do we want to do it in October?
I would push to November, just so people have planned, the presenter has time to plan and prepare.
This is always the fun part. November 13th.
Monday.
It's a Monday.
I am not available that day.
All right.
I'm traveling that day. I'm gone from then until,
That week?
no, I come back for the F&O meeting on Thursday. So
Wednesday the 15th?
No, I'm gone from the 13th to the 16th.
To the 15th,
Yeah, I'm
gotcha.
gone from the 13th to the afternoon of the 16th. I'll be back
Gotcha.
for my F&O meeting.
Okay.
No. Well, I'll be there for the F&O. Oh, no, oh, I see.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
So let me just take a look at my travel schedule, see what time I land.
That is, that's a Gallimore's, award, Blues Ribbon Award.
You have to be there for that, right? Yeah. Okay, so forget the 16th.
How about the next week, the 20th? Hmm?
Monday the 20th?
The 20th, we have SVA. And then is that Thanksgiving week?
It is.
It is.
So that means there's no school on the 22nd, right?
Right.
So if if families have plans, they would
Yeah.
be leaving the evening of the 21st.
Correct.
Yeah.
27th?
27th, Monday?
Yeah, I'm open.
29th?
27th doesn't work.
20
29th works.
Doesn't it?
No,
Okay.
sorry, just looking.
Yeah.
29th would work though.
27th and
Wednesday.
The Wednesday.
27th and the 29th both work for me.
How's the
Or
29th?
27th didn't work.
29th for you
27th
two
didn't
back
work.
there.
That should work, yep.
29th?
Yeah.
So I can't do 27th.
Okay,
but
so
20
29th?
But 29th looks
How
like
about
it
the
works.
30th?
It works for me
I
as
could
well.
do the 30th as well.
Oh, the 30th? Okay, that's a Thursday. Yeah. Either of those days are
So
okay.
2 options, Wednesday and Thursday, 29th and 30th.
Is that during Thanksgiving break?
No.
No, the week
No.
after.
It's the next week.
That's what I thought.
Thanksgiving is the 23rd. So you'll be off school the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th.
Right, so it's the 29th and 30th.
Do you have Wednesday off? Oh, yeah. You have Wednesday, yeah.
So, what are you looking for start time? Can we do a 5:30 to 8:30, or would that work?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, we're going to reach out to the 2 members that are not here to see if either of those dates work, and then forward those on to Ms. Megan.
Correct. All right. That wasn't as painful as I thought. All right, follow-up board questions. Presentation of future board meetings to highlight and remind the community of timelines for upcoming construction projects. Check.
Tonight.
You had, no? Member Wilson requests that security be present at future board members. Can we get a shout out to security? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right.
Well, can I comment? I understand the safety thing, but I just want to say I didn't really feel that was a threat kind of thing. It was just a nonviolent disruption. So I don't know, sometimes when you get security at board meetings and parents want to be there, it kind of gives the impression that they're all dangerous, and I don't know, I kind of.
Well, I'll say this. The guy got up, he slammed down a chair, yelled at the top of his screen, his voice, and then stormed out, slammed some doors downstairs. As I said last week, the one thing I'm not going to do is I don't know him, I don't know his capabilities. The one thing I'm not going to do is look back and say, I wish I had taken steps to protect this body and students and those in the audience. So if it's being over precautious, fine, I'll chalk that up, but I won't be somebody who looks back and say, wow, there was indications of X, Y, Z, because you always see that. Oh, nobody thought this. Oh, we didn't think he was capable. If you can't control, if you're a grown man and you can't control your temper like that, that right there says a lot to me. I don't know him, but grown men in control of their emotions don't behave that way. So once again, maybe I overreacted, but I'll take that all day. So, all right, thank you, sir, for being here. Any other questions? All right, meeting is adjourned at 8:29.
Thank you.
So,
Is that your best time?
no, I've been about